Wrench Army members, and welcome to today's Wrench Army exclusive stream. So you know what that means. No one else will ever see this. This is just for us. It's our build and no one else can have it. Yeah, so people will see it working in the end, but only we'll know how we put this thing together. Or didn't. You know, we're gonna try today and get this done. But I had an idea that for our lightning detector, and what we're doing today is building the tiniest fog machine that we can think of to tie into our Young Frankenstein inspired lightning detector. And the challenge is, I thought we talked a lot about lighting and lighting schemes, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to accentuate the lighting scheme with a different element? Because fog has a way of catching light. We all know from haunted houses, and I do have some leftover fog juice we can try from a lot of my Halloween haunt builds. So that'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully this works out. But the idea is to build something that is small enough for us to hide inside Frankenstein's tower. And sometimes, you know, randomly, or maybe we'll put some kind of timer to it, it just goes off, and this fog will seep out of the roof along that crack that I left along Young Frankenstein's tower, because it is kind of dilapidated. He doesn't have time for maintenance. You know, he's got experiments to do and dead things to wake up. So we have our early arrival. He is like our always early arrival, David Beck. He says, I am so excited right now. Let's fog this place up. So yes, I am catching your comments on Patreon, on YouTube, through the website, but especially on Discord. So I have my phone here and I'm going to monitor the live stream chat channel. So if you have pictures that you want to post and ideas, post away, because, you know, I have it right here and I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. And also a bit of a Wrench Army business. Pretty soon here, I'm going to be scheduling a special stream just for Wrench Army members to talk about our next build. We are kind of nearing the end of this. So stop throwing in suggestions. You know, we're going to cut this off. No, I'm kidding. I'm always open to really cool things. So we need a fun like spring summer project, you know, like I have a couple ideas that I'm going to throw into the video suggestions channel on Discord, but I thought it'd be cool for us to do a Discord planning stream, you know, so we have the Discord channel up on the screen where we can all in real time put up pictures, figure out maybe what a cool summer project would be. So start getting your thinking caps on, and I'll be posting a date up on social media for us to all, you know, get together. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So on to the project. So one way I thought about doing this was kind of borrowing from something that a lot of cosplayers do. So I've seen this, you know, at Comic-Cons and things. They build these little fog machines for their costumes. And it's got this, you know, billowing smoke. So we're not going to build something to the level that's going to spew out a ton of smoke, because this is a mini fog machine. You know, it's just to kind of give an aura to our lightning detector. So I thought one way to do this is what burns fog juice into smoke. You can certainly get a mister. A mister is like a little hockey puck size thing, and you drop it in water, and as long as the water level is above a certain level, it'll mist. Now, one of the issues I have with mist is that it is water, and we're going to have wiring back there. Also, it needs to be an open container of water. So what are the chances of something like this spilling, or I have to constantly check on the water level to make sure it's misting correctly? So a mister was kind of the first way that I went with this, and then I decided against it. And then the other thing I thought of was e-cigarettes. Now, I don't smoke, I don't vape, I don't know much about them, but these little canisters here, and I'll give you guys a much better view, these little canisters, and that's not that much of a great view. Let me give you guys an even better view here. There we go. I was like cheating you. I'm like, look at this great view, and you're like all the way up here. Like, I can't see. So this is a clearomizer from a Kanger T2 vape pen. And so here is the tip of the vape pen. And this little cap here is like, no, don't turn me into a fog machine. And of course, this is where you would inhale your vape if you're a vapor. And here is our tank. And inside the tank is a coil that burns the vape juice. In our case, we're going to substitute non-toxic fog juice. And you can make your own. You can make your own fog juice by just putting glycerin in here. And glycerin alone is going to give you a very thick smoke. If you don't want it that thick, you can always mix your glycerin with distilled water, and that'll kind of, dilute things a little bit. So you can see some of the wicks here, and then this end right here screws into your battery canister, and then that creates the pen portion, for you to vape. So taking a look at this and just unscrewing the top off, whoop, don't run away. And you'll see that this part here is the coil. So let's take a look. Now, coils come in a variety of different ohms, resistances. So one of the things you have to make sure is that you get a coil with right around a 2 ohm resistance. Anything less, and then your fog machine is probably going to shut off. And we're going to test that. Now, this thing is like really on here. So let me see if I can grab a... There we go. Grab something to get it off. Also, I was messing with fog juice, and fog juice has a very soapy consistency, so my hands feel like soapy. So let me wipe them off in my pants for a second here. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to unscrew the coil and take a look. And man, I put on my glasses, I checked through the magnifying glass, and I took this little plastic cap off. I could not find an ohm reading on this thing at all. I tried to measure the ohms, and the way you do that is inside here. And let me see if I can get you guys even closer and see if it'll focus. Will it focus? Not too much. So let me back you guys up slightly, and then what I'll do is, hello, there we go. So if you look inside, you're going to see kind of an inner little hole, little inner ring. And that's, where you inhale the vape, and the coil is in there. And that's your positive. And then right on the outside of that little ring is your negative. So the biggest problem that I had was sticking 2 kind of fat probes in there and trying to read the resistance. It was just touching everything, and the resistance was flying all over the place. Plus, with a, inexpensive multimeter, they typically aren't that accurate when you're trying to read that low. So no help there. So we're going to try this. And if we find that our fog machine keeps shutting off, it's most likely because this is too small of a resistance, 2 little ohms. We need more ohms. And so you can buy coils separately at a variety of different ohms, like 1.8, which is, I'm thinking this is a 1.8 because I think these things come standard with a 1.8. You can buy a 2.2, so you can, pick the ohms that work the best. Now, one of the things I noticed with this is, I give you guys that view again, these wicks are kind of small. They're like really short. And you can buy coils with longer wicks. And these wicks just look like cotton. So I'm gonna guess that I could probably replace them with my own cotton, and you stick them in here. And you can see that the coil right here, or the coil mounts on top. So that means that if we have our fog machine upright, well, as that liquid drains down, you're going to get less and less smoke. So you almost have to mount this thing upside down and then let the smoke dribble up, or put some kind of, fish tubing here with a tube that then directs that smoke up. So we're going to figure all that stuff out. And I'm going to put this little guy back in here. I'm going to pinch these little cotton and stick them here. And I have 2 of them in case, I mess up and solder something incorrectly. And David Beck is saying, yep, non-smoker or vapor here, so I'm no help. Yes, so we're going to be a little bit of the blind leading the blind today. But you know what? 2 blinds always make a still not a seeing person. But enough for our purposes. Listen, we've done a lot with less here. So we're going to be doing pretty good, I think. All right, so first step, go ahead and figure out how are we going to power all this? And this can take right around 3 volts. Some people claim that they've run theirs at 5 volts. I'm kind of scared of burning that coil. So I'm probably going to try and rig up 2 batteries together just for us to be able to prototype and test this. Because after we build it, we have to figure out, okay, how are we going to mount it inside the castle? So with this, I just wanted to figure out, okay, well, where do I wire this, like, you know, to make it start or give it power? So just taking our multimeter here and setting our multimeter to continuity right there. I'm going to take both probes, and what I found is that I'm going to try and rest this guy here. If you just, this is our positive in here, just like it was with the coil, and like a light bulb. I mean, this is really like a light bulb. You just stick this on the sleeve. It's a little crunchy, but it works. So that's how we have to wire. We're going to try and get a positive wire inside this tiny little hole. Well, you don't want it inside the hole. You want to try and solder it in the way that it only touches the outside, because that hole needs to stay open for air to pass through. And what you're going to find is that this is a 2.4 milliliter tank. They make bigger tanks, but sometimes the bigger tanks, the air comes in through the side. So now you got to put a hose through the side, and you have to twist the bottom. And on top of that, if the coil is on the bottom, which you would think is perfect, you know, because then the liquid drains down, you're always getting that fog. But oftentimes then you have to refill from the bottom, and you have all this wiring and you're trying to refill from the bottom. It's a little complicated. So I thought this design is probably good for a first time try, you know, and then we'll see how it works and then figure out what modifications we can make from there. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And then the other problem, or I guess challenge, we needed to figure out is that in order to get the smoke to come out, you have to inhale it. You have to suck it out. So by itself, if you run this, it's not going to expel any smoke. So how do we get the smoke out of this thing? So one idea I had was to try and hook up like the tiniest little air pump I could find. And of course you can use a bigger air pump, but in that case, it's just gonna start spewing a ton of smoke. And I just want something that just kind of creeps on out of the castle and you know, kind of creepy. So I think what I'm gonna try and do is after we solder all of our wires, connect this to that tiny little hole, you know, just like that. So look how tiny that is already, you know, our little fog machine here. And this is something that I think that we can stick either upright or facing downwards, and then put a tube and I guess I'll do it this way, you know, facing downwards, and then we can always use some aquarium tubing to kind of direct the airflow back up into the castle, if even necessary. I mean, it might just be enough and it'll go on its own. So the theory is that this little air pump is going to push air through and out, you know, so we don't actually have to inhale, you know, and sit behind our lightning detector all like, you know, that would be lame. All right, so let's try and figure out how to wire this thing. I think let's start with the hardest part, which is trying to get a wire inside that little tiny hole. And I think the way I'm going to try and attempt it is to drill a hole through the side. So we stick the wire in through the side and, you know, try and solder it that way. So I think I'm going to use this kind of small gauge wire because 3 volts, we're not running a ton of stuff. And just kind of boop right in there and get them to solder. One concern I have is looking at this outer sleeve. Look how shiny that is. I'm getting an impression that our negative solder is going to have a tough time sticking to this. We're going to rough it up, and if I have to turn the temperature up on my soldering machine or my little soldering pen, we will. It only goes up to a certain temperature. So if we're still having problems, I will then get a soldering station, and then we'll really just heat the, you know, crap out of it. Yes, I said crap. Oh, we've just gone PG-13 right here. She said crap. All right, so to do this hole, I have 2 options. I can use a drill, but I thought maybe a little Dremel like this might be easier. And if you take a very, very close look at this. And I'm just gonna, instead of zooming in and out, see this tiny little hole, and I'm just going around trying to find something to point it out. Here we go. I'll use this wire. There's like a tiny little hole right there. So I think I'm going to use that hole as a guide and just expand it a little bit more and stick our wire through here. So I don't have to expand it much. And that should be right in line with our middle portion there. Now these holes are here just to allow air to be drawn in as you inhale through the tip here. The air is drawn in through here, through this coil, the center tube portion right here, and out. And then that's how you get your smoke. But we're just going to enlarge those because we have this air pump now. We don't really need these holes anymore. So let's do it, people. Let's try and do it. Let me grab my my safety glasses just in case we get a tiny bit of metal flying around. Let me clean them first, right? Just so I can see what the heck it is I'm doing. All right, and I obviously got a second because, you know, I don't know how sturdy these things are. I might drill right through it, and then we have a kind of a second one. So this is our practice one, and we're going to see how that goes. And let me plug this in. That always helps. You know, I'm thinking I'm working off a Wi-Fi power here, Wi-Fi wall outlet, but nope. All right. There we go. And this is a new Dremel, so I'm excited to use it. Let's see, I'll start it at a 3 and see what happens. All right, there's our little hole. I'm going to, maybe I'll stand up for this. Yeah, you know I'm serious when I stand up. Or maybe I'll go in through the side. Yeah, change my mind. I'm going in through the side where I can just maybe hold this. I think that is gonna take forever. So I have another idea. Let me change the tip into like a pointy one and see if that makes things any better. So I got my little wrench here. See, something like this I think will be better. Frozen Mustache says, sounds like I'm at the dentist. Yeah, we're gonna have some moments like that here. Yeah, we're gonna have some dental moments. All right, let me find something that won't open too big a hole. I'm going through my bag of goodies here. And we'll go to the drill if we have to. All right, so I think I'm going to do, they're both the same, so it doesn't matter. All right. Let me switch this out real quick. Facing this the wrong way, so I'm turning it the wrong way. All right, gonna get a little more torque here on my lap. And there we go. Some of this stuff out of the way. And oh, my live stream chat to Discord. There we go. It fell asleep on me. All right, so let's try this again. And if this fails, then it's drilling time. And then it can't fight me anymore. Here we go. And I'm just kind of going in. I think like this is probably one of the better ways to do it. So. Oh yeah, much better. There we go. New Dremel. I'm like, where's the switch? Where's the switch? Let's see if that's big enough. Right there. See the difference? And that one's barely visible. So let's see if this is big enough. Not yet, but almost. Almost. Here we go again. Just want to make sure that I'm not hitting the center core. Oh no, I'm really far away from it. Let's see now. Ooh, almost. It's snug. It's snug. It's almost going in. I'm going to do a little bit more. There we go. See? Let me try and get that to focus there. So we got our guy there. And then what I'm going to attempt to do is kind of roughen up this little middle area here. Just hopefully so this sticks better. I'm having some suspicions about how well our solder is going to stick to this. So I think I'll just, you know, kind of go in very gently with this, or maybe I'll change to the ball because this will probably stab right into it, knowing me. So let's kind of handicap myself. I'm going to handicap my tendency to just blow through stuff. Oh, we can use like a little stone too. Let's do that. Let's use a little stone guy there. And where did the little wrench thingy go? Oh, it's right here. And let me get him slippery. Because my hands are still soapy from the fog juice. And Dave Beck has a pro tip. Put some cloth strips and black tape around the handle of the Dremel wrench to keep fingers from hurting. Ooh. Yeah, these are not great. I mean, why don't they just give you a nice one with torque? That's what I want. None of these like little tiny ones. What's that business? But yeah, no, that's a great tip. It's better than my idea using an oven mitt trying to do this. So Dave Beck's idea is good. All right, so we have a little more dental work to do, as Frozen Mustache says. There we go. I think I'm better over there. All right, so I'm going to go in here, and I may just, it's kind of tough for you guys to see, but I may kind of tilt it my way a little bit so I don't overdo it. All right, I'm trying to figure out the best way to hold this up because it's so tiny. Man, this is not a good project for shaky hands. Not at all. Oh, my hands are shaking. Look at that. Oh, stop shaking. Let me, there we go. I'm just going to tap it. Probably the safest thing to do. I think that's pretty good. Let's see if we can see a difference here if I hold it up like that. So not really, but one of the sides there, I just kind of shaved down a little bit, kind of tried to create a little bit of roughness, and we're gonna see if the solder sticks to that any better. Let me put this guy in here. Let me put the wrench away so I don't lose it. And these little bits and pieces can run away. And next, I'm going to unplug this because I think we are somewhat done with it. And I'm going to plug in the soldering iron and let that start heating up. I have a fan going on right here, so we kind of get that blowing the solder smoke away. That's one way to make fog, just to run a soldering iron behind the castle. Put this guy here. And where are you? Ooh. All right, where are you gonna be where you're not in the way? Because you're always in the way. And this thing's got like the shortest little cord, which is interesting. All right. Why is your cord so short? And I'll probably put you over here. And what else? Oh yes, this guy and this guy. And it would be helpful having some solder. And I'm gonna try and use this real skinny one because the objective is not to get any solder in that tiny, tiny hole. If we do, I'm gonna try and I'll leave this at the ready. This is kind of a solder remover. It just kind of sucks the solder right back in again, and we'll try again. If we really messed up, then, you know, we got a spare. So hopefully, you know, the spare will be the spare and it'll stay that way. So one of the most difficult things with this one, and that tip might be too big. Let me, or not, you know, I think we're gonna need more heat for this. So a bigger tip, more surface area to conduct heat. I think I'm gonna keep this tip here and tighten it, you know, before it gets too hot. So one of the most difficult things with this is actually reading the temperature meter. And maybe I can use this to help. There we go. Ooh. So this does go up to 450. That might be enough for us. Let me juice this up to, we'll start it at 350, which is kind of what I usually use. And then we'll bump it to 450 if we find that it's just not really doing its thing. So the inside might not be as bad. It's going to be a challenging solder or solder. Solder if you are overseas in the UK. Here we tend to say solder, so I'll probably interchangeably use them. And let's keep this guy here and see, like I tested just by seeing if it melts what I have in here, like my little splash. And I just kind of tap. Once it starts, see how it's starting to melt it, but it's still a little cool. Yep, we're almost there. See how it's like I can move it around now? But it's still a little blobby. So I want this nice and hot. We're gonna tin the wire. We're gonna try and do all the correct things. And I even busted out some extra flux, even though the solder that I'm using does have a rosin core. So that's gonna help us. And that's really what the smoke is when you solder. A lot of people think it's like the lead burning off. You gotta burn lead a lot hotter, you know, for that. It's really that rosin core. Nice and clean tip there. And I'm gonna let him just sit here and marinate while we prepare our wires. So yes, I'm gonna use kind of this smaller gauge wire, or bigger gauge. Bigger gauge means thinner, lower gauge means, thicker. So this is a 22-inch gauge, which is, you know, pretty much common for hookup wire. And again, this not, you know, we're not going to put too much through it, so this will be fine. And now to look for the gauge meter here. There we go. I'll start with 18. And that was good enough. Curl that as best I can. And let's see how best to do this. I think I'm going to prepare. See, I'm just going to go like that. Whoop. Best if you guys can see it. Go like that. But one of the concerns I have is that it is touching the inner sleeve. So I think I'm going to cut this wire a lot, you know, the exposed part shorter. We'll experiment with that and see how that works. That way, the red sleeve is touching that hole that it's coming in on. So we're making sure that it's not touching the outside. So I'm going to cut that slightly shorter. And we always have more wire if we screw up. Just a tiny bit shorter. It was almost there. Because this is going to be tough. We're pretty much not going to be able to heat shrink this one in here. That I would like to see. But we'll make sure we wrap it. And for today, it's really more prototyping. Like, does this idea even work? So yeah, I think we can get it to sit in just like that. So how am I gonna hold it? How am I gonna hold it? Can this thing hold it? I need a helper. I need, like we talked about, I still haven't gotten my shop Igor to sit here and be like, Igor, hold this device. And I'm going to try and set this up first, and then I'll kind of move it into where you guys can see. Ah, so the helping hands is fat enough to deal with this. Let me tighten him. All right, let me move him into place. That you guys can... Whoop, where is he? Where is he? Move this guy out of the way. And for this, normally I solder backwards, you know, towards you guys, like towards, but for this, because it's so tiny, I might have to solder towards myself so I can actually see what I'm doing. Let's see if I can solder standing up too. There we go. And maybe I'll take this guy off. Whoop. And just so we all can see, you know, this attempt at what I'm going to try and do. So let's see if I just move him in, twist. And so the idea, let me twist him towards you guys a little bit. This is gonna make it a little tougher on me, but you know, we'll do it, we'll do it. So I'm gonna be coming in like this and soldering. Let me turn him and maybe do it. I'm right-handed, so maybe if I hold the soldering pen with my right hand. So let's see, let's do a practice run. We're just gonna mock this. I'm gonna come in through here. Uh-oh. The trick is seeing the hole. There we go. So it's in there, and then I'm gonna hold it like that, and then we're gonna solder. Okay, the mock soldering went very successful. Now let's do it for real. It's not super stable there, but we'll do the best we can. All right, so let's tin this wire first. And I'll put this guy in here. And why don't I move this over here? I'm like pre-preparing to make this thing a little bit easier on me. Here we go. And let me tin the tip. Let's clean that tip a little bit. Oh, let me turn the fan on. There we go. You might hear a little bit of the fan. Pull a lot of this out. When a tip just sits there unused and being heated, it often just gets really, really dirty. So we might have to go through this process a couple times. There we go. See, it's already getting... That smoke is blowing away from me, which is great. And it would probably be helpful if I kind of do this business right here. Hold him like that, just so I have something to... There we go. Now I'm prepared. Yeah, it took a while, but now I'm prepared. Ooh, David Beck has a great idea. Shove some wire in the hole to prevent solder getting in there. Oh, hold on. You know what? Let's do that. That's a great idea. Let me see if I have any loose pieces lying around. How big is that hole? Yeah, we can probably fit this little yellow guy in there. Oh, oh, I have a toothpick. I have a toothpick somewhere. Genius, David, genius. Yeah, look at that. Perfect, perfect. Toothpick is in there. Can't do any harm. All right, now I gotta clean my tip again. But good one. You caught me right in time. That's a really tiny hole. If like a little 22-inch gauge can't even fit in there. How much more of this stuff do I have? Okay, I have more solder. The rest of the connections don't have to be so precise, but this first one is like, let's not get any solder in the hole. There we go. Nice and clean tip. One more time. And just gonna hold it right there. I'm not used to like not having so much wire. Let's 10 the tip. Hopefully that'll make our lives a ton easier. All right, guys. All right, I'm gonna feed it through the hole, and it's kind of. Let me just get that to. There we go. All right. Oh. All right, stay there. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna need all concentration. It's about to get quiet in here. It's about to get real quiet. And don't shake hands. Let me just shake them out. Shake out them hands. Shake out them hands. All right. All right, here we go. Now, because this has been tinned, I'm hoping I can just kind of go in there and make an initial melting of the tinned wire right onto that contact. And then we'll gloss a little bit more on there just to make sure it's really on there. And trying to keep the tip as clean as possible just in case we're going to have adhesion issues. All right. It's like I need that magnifying glass. All right. Ooh, the toothpick is kind of in the way. Sorry, toothpick. Okay. Ooh. Oh no, it didn't do it. I thought it was in there for a bit. You know what? I'm going to try and use this little helping hand. I knew this was going to be the worst part of this. Let's get you clamped in there. And see if we can hold you kind of in place. I'm going to try and goop some solder in there. Like, I'm not a fan of dripping solder. Like, that's the worst type of soldering there is just dripping kind of cold solder, a cold joint. But I don't see how else I'm going to get this in there without removing that toothpick, which we may have to do, which that idea was, like, genius. All right, here we go. This is not the best. Can't even tell if I got the wire. Ooh, that might be good, guys. That might be good. I might put a little bit more. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to go without... Oh, no, it came off. It came off. Let me see here. It came off. Let me turn up the heat just a little bit more. Oh yeah, the heat went down a little bit, that's why. This knob is kind of tough because it's like right where you grab. So you're constantly either turning up or turning down the heat without wanting to. Come on. The suspense. All right. Part part of it is just tough to see if I'm even, let me make sure that's making contact even. For all I know, I might be soldering in the air. I don't want to do that. Is there any type of pen or grabber? The cord got tied up. All right. Here we go. It does stick, you know, but then if you pull too hard, it unsticks. Let's gob you up. Usually not a fan, but of the gob welds or solders. But today we may have to be. I'm just gobbing it. Thank God there's that toothpick in there. I think we would have been in trouble. Now, before pulling it, because I think that's what I did. I think I got, you know, a little too excited that I was able to get in there, and I tried to pull it, and then boop, it popped right off. So I'm gonna, you know, let it cool. Let it cool, do its thing. And yeah, that looks terrible. Look at that solder. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a big old ball. It's like a cold joint, really. But it's kind of the best I was been able to do in such a tiny, tiny little spot. So let's see if it comes out. Guys, I think it stayed. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna He-Man it out, but as long as it stays enough for us to see that this indeed works. Now, oh no, I think it got burnt in there. No, it didn't. I pulled it out in its entirely. Oh, that's all we needed was for that that toothpick to get stuck in there. All right. So that's good. That's good. So I'm going to remove all this. And now comes the part that I don't think is going to be the hardest, but I think it's still going to be a bit challenging. Let me move this out of the way. Is this extra shiny cuff. This outer cuff that we have to solder to. So let me give myself some room, and I'm going to try and sand this down. And I have sandpaper around here somewhere. There we go. There we go. Let me just flip on my Discord. So give myself some slack. So yes, turning that heat up just a little bit into the 400s range, I think really did it. And also, unfortunately, gopping a bunch of solder. That joint looks pretty horrible. Like, real engineers are going to be like, seriously? But you're going to have to live with it. You know, this will work in the end. I have high hopes. So I think I'm going to put the negative on this other side. And I'm wondering if I should use that little hole. But... and unfortunately, this doesn't unscrew, so it's not like we can just work with this tiny little, you know, this tiny metal cuff and this separately. So I'm trying to be careful not to damage this as well. But I'm going to just scuff this right now and see if this is, what grit is this? This feels like 100, about 100 grit sandpaper. Ow, that side is hot. You know, I really did a number on it. So let me put my finger here. I know I really should be taping this and masking it properly, but I'm too curious. You know, sometimes you just want to like move ahead because you're just so darn curious as to how this is going to work. So I think these two are the hardest connection points that we're going to make. The rest is like, I've wired up, you know, air pumps before. We should be good. And I'll bust out the Dremel if I have to, and we'll really rough this up. But I think this is pretty rough. There we go. See? A little dullness there and a shininess there. So what's the best way to do this one? It's like all about the setup. I think I'll hold this. I'm going to set it up for me first, and then I'll get to you guys. Actually, maybe like this. And then this will be a little awkward for me, but you guys will have a much better view. There we go. How sturdy is that? Enough, enough. And let me prep a piece of black. Same gauge. Get this going. Let's see, and I think I used the second to the last hole. I left my glasses in the other room. No. Twist this guy. Twisting. All right. So here, at least we don't have to worry about blocking any holes. And that looks pretty clear. You know, the weld looks horrible, or the solder job looks horrible, but it's clear. All right. Now, I think I'm going to do the same thing, and that's going to go like that. So I'm going to move you little wires towards me, and maybe see if I can articulate this guy over here, just to kind of help out a little bit. It's like, don't just sit there and do nothing. Help me out. Help a sister out. There we go. So that's going to go like that. I say it as if it's going to be super easy. But let's see, I have my iron, I think, at about 400. I'm going to leave it there. We'll crank it to 450 if we need to. But I'm going to stand for this because I'm serious and things are about to get real quiet in here. For the concentration. Oh, how hot are we if that's not even melting? Oh, that's at 400. Okay. It's probably because the tip is just gross. Look at that. It's so dirty. Let's get it. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to tin this wire. So let me prepare it for that. Boop. Oops. Put it in a way where you guys can see it too. There we go. Clean this guy. Tin the tip. I'm running out. I'm running out of the skinny soldering, or solder. I have some of the big old solder. We can always tap that later. For these little connections, I think I can get away with what I have. All right, that's nice and clean. Here we go. Don't have to make that many passes, but all right, now I'm gonna prep for the next, we're prepping for the next scene. It's like a movie. Prep for the next scene. All right, something like that. And I don't know how I'm gonna hold this, the solder, and the, unless I do something like this. I mean, that would be perfect if this could somehow, oh, I can stick it inside the, there we go. That's even better. I don't know what I was trying to do. Then, move this guy in like this. And this guy in like that. So we're almost there. Let me see if I can raise him a little bit. There we go, people. And we don't need this hole, so it's okay if it gets covered in goop. There. Oh, I just touched it. There we go. I'll sit back down so you see my head. Get this tip clean again because we're going to need it. Oh, that's a cold solder right there. All right, I'm having trouble seeing. Oh, that is not sticking. Is it? Oh, it's sticking. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. Don't touch it. It doesn't look pretty. But the name of the game for this particular one is practice your really bad soldering. This is like, you don't have to be afraid if you're making really bad joints. The one project. Because I think we're pushing the limits of this pen here a bit. It's like, I was not meant to make mini fog machines, okay? Yeah, that's really gross looking, but we're gonna go with it. I like to heat the component or the wire and let the solder wick through. Oh no, I unsoldered it. It was doing so well. Let me goop it up and then not touch it. There we go, it's gooped. And let me goop the other side. This side is ungooped. This is so bad. That's pretty ugly. That is pretty ugly. All right, I'm not gonna touch it. It still needs a little bit more on this side. I know it's like, don't touch it, but no, I can't resist. If I just go like that. Yeah, that's ugly. But I think it's gonna work for us. Yeah, it's gonna work for us. We're just gonna let it be ugly. And I think I'm going to remove the excess with David Beck. Prototypes are rarely beautiful. Indeed, this one is definitely rocking the ugly award. And what I'm doing is going underneath. There's a total glob of solder, which might get in the way of our air pump. I'm going to try and melt it and remove it with this little device here. And it's like a plunger thing that just sucks it out. So kind of tough to use and do this at the same time, and it's in a weird angle, but I'm gonna do it. That's some of it. I might be able to just melt it off. I know you guys can't really see this, but yeah, look at that gloop. Melt off that gloop. I'm going in. Hopefully we haven't overheated the wire, but I don't think so. Let me put this here. And I'm kind of scared to mess with it. I don't know. All right. I mean, look guys, it might have stayed. Let me very carefully. And then I'm just gonna electrical tape this really well. We just need it to stick enough. And even with our miniature, once it's put, it is put. Like, this thing ain't moving. It's gonna stay put. So let me see if I can, oh, so carefully remove it from this thing. All right, guys, so it's hanging on. I mean, if I really tug, it'll probably come off, but I think we're good. Let me move this out of the way. It's all tangled. It's like short cords seem to tangle more than long cords, which makes absolutely no sense. Oh, you know what? I had this wire brush that I could have used. That probably would have been better, darn. But you know what? We got it done. So, whew, just about over with the solder. It's just about done. All right. So, David Beck, you can do it! Some Rob Schneider inspiration there. I'll take that. Yeah. Let me put this away for now. Let's clear the area. Something moved. All right. So now the idea is to somehow connect this little pump to this guy's butt. So let's figure that out. And I think what I'm going to do is use this piece, and let me back you guys up just a tiny bit now and give you more light. There we go. Much better. So this has got that little hole inside, and here, and I'll hold it, you know, up, I guess. So here, this little tip, that's where the air comes out. So we definitely want to match this tip up with the hole in here. Now there's a space, you know, because of this boxy type of situation here. So it doesn't quite join up. And I think the way I'm going to brace that situation is by using a little bit of tubing. So I think if I put tubing on this guy and cut it and then put it on the other side, the air will travel down the tubing through the hole and out the front. So that's the idea. And let me grab my scissors here. Maybe something like that. And normally I would see how this is kind of loose a little bit. It comes off. I mean, it is almost snug, but I think I'm going to leave it that way for us to prototype, because ideally you want this thing as close as possible to that hole, like instead of like out here, because then the air starts to kind of slow down. And this is a tiny little 3-volt pump. Like I said, you can use a much stronger pump, but I think this will be enough to give us that ambiance that we're looking for. And that gloop is going to make it a little tough, and the wire for us to slip this through. So I think I'm going to cut a slit in it to help us out a little bit with my bad soldering. So let me see, and then now, whoops, I changed my mind. I'll bring you guys in closer now. There we go. So with my slit, I'm going to aim it. I'm going to put this in first. I'm going to aim it where that red wire is. Where's the slit? Oh, I can't see it. I don't think I cut a big enough slit. Let me be more aggressive with that cut. I think I did it over here. There we go. That seems pretty aggressive. And I'm going to put the slit side. This is where I hope I don't unsolder things. Let me just work that open a little bit. Put it through here. So we are going to have a little bit of air leaks because in the final, what I'm going to do is fill this. Once these connections are done, I want to fill this thing up with hot glue. And that should be good. But for testing purposes, we should get enough smoke to see if this thing even works. And then we'll connect it like that. And normally, I'd like that space to be smaller. I mean, I'd like this thing to be touching it. So let's test this thing first. And then we'll figure that out in the final build. Because, yeah, we're going to test fit it inside the castle. And we might figure that, yeah, for our particular purpose, we might have to back this. There might not be enough room for both these components in the castle. And we'll put a longer tube for the air to flow from our little air pump through the tube and then out. So we're going to see how all that works. But for now, we're going to put this guy here. And before permanently attaching him, why don't we do the connections on him? So let's see, we're going to wire the positive to the positive of this, and then it'll go to our power source. Likewise, we're going to do the negative to the negative of this. So let me figure out how much length. I think I'm going to keep the length really long for now. Yes, something like that. And I know you guys can't see my length here. And now I can move this out of the way. Now, let me see what the positive is. Here's the positive. We are going to be mending this to this. So what I'm going to try and do is reveal a little bit of... Actually, I have a better idea. Kind of get this mocked into place. I'm going to wire this separately and then we'll connect the two together. I think I'm going to make my life way easier that way. And I also won't be messing with that because it's just looking to come apart. Like, come on, keep touching me. So that way I can just completely fall apart with those nasty solder joints. All right, so let me set this guy up. And, oh no, I need longer arms. All right, I left my glasses in the other room. All right, how can oh, I didn't really want to get you by the tip there, but it'll have to do. And let me set you guys up. So I'm setting myself up, setting you guys up, and here we go. And I'm totally moving it out of your view. So let me do something like that. You guys can take a look there. And our positive is on this side and our negative is on this side. And I know that because there's like a little plus mark on this side. So it's helping me out. So I'm going to take a little piece of this wire, and I usually tend not to cut the wire on the other side until like I'm sure. Doesn't always work, but sometimes I am rewarded. So I'm going to start with the positive, and hopefully this will be a ton easier than our other soldering. Although these little contacts are, I swear, they made this for, usually there's a hole that you can weave your wire through to help hold it. But man, this is like made for children's hands. Let's see if we can get this in a way that's helpful to us. That's half the battle. Whoop. Curl it. Try and get you guys touching. And heat shrink, people, don't let me forget the heat shrink. All right, like something like that. Stay there, it's touching. Let me also carefully start cleaning this tip. I think this tip is entirely too big, but so far we've had okay luck with it. So I'm gonna keep it bit long. Let me just back you on up. Oh, this might be another gloop gloop job. Gloop gloop. Oh, I should have tinned that wire, but it's on there so nice that I don't want to take it out. Here we go. Oops. Sorry. Oh, where are you going? All right, I know I'm totally in your guys' way. You're like, I can't see. I'm trying to heat the wire close to the connection, but not right on the connection. There we go. Didn't we have a resistor problem like this where we just could not get them to like marry up? They kept fighting each other. I'm gonna have to gloop now. which is not the way I like doing it, but whoop. All right, I'm gonna let that sit. I'm not gonna get all excited and start wiggling it. Like, did it hold? Did it hold? And shrink wrap that. Oh, I think we're good, people. I think we're good. And I'll prep the black while that continues to cool off. And just strip it. And curl it. And we're going to do the same, except I'm going to flip this guy around. See if I can bend this wire like that. Flip you. Oh, uh-oh. My set screw got loose. Oh, I totally stripped the wrong end. I stripped the end of the clearomizer, but we'd have to do that anyways, so I wasn't paying attention. I'm like so concentrated on this air pump that I'm just like stripping whatever wire ends that are near me. All right, let's see if we can get this to touch. Come. It's like square dancing. I don't know if you guys ever had square dancing in school, where I think it's like middle school or something like that. You have to like dance with boys and stuff, and it's like, ew, you know, at that age, and you have to do-si-do your partner. And I remember the boys would, they would put their hand like this, you know, so they don't have to touch you, because girls are gross and you know, alternatively boys are gross, so you would hold hands like through your sleeve and stuff, like kid stuff. That's what this is like. It's like they don't want to do-si-do their partners. They just want to hold each other through sleeves, and then you don't get a connection. All right, I think I got that, and let me bring you guys in on the action. It's a little bit of a weird view, but you are floating in the air, aren't you? You're not even touching. Come on, do-si-do that partner. I forget what the other dance moves were. But I think if I were to do it now, I think it'd be fun. It's kind of like line dancing or something. And David Beck is saying the gloop looks good. Yeah, you know what? For some gloop, it's a pretty good looking gloop. I'm actually enjoying just being able to gloop things on and not worry about it. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for the gloop method, which is not good, but oh, it's not even on there. Come on, there we go. Also, this is kind of my fault for not pre-tinning the wires. This would have helped. Oh, I think it's on there. Let me give it a second, and then I'm going to do a final glooping. This is a safety gloop that we're about to do. Oh, at least get it somewhat clean if we're going to gloop. Oh, that came off. You suck. Oh. Hold up. Stay right there. I'm a gloop. Actually, I'm just going to touch it because it's got a decent amount of solder on it. And I'm just going to touch it with the iron and then not touch it. Yeah. And then I said I wasn't going to touch it, but I'm going to touch it. I can't help it. Now I'm for real not going to touch it. For real, people. Not touching it. Sit on the hands. Stop glooping upon the joints. All right. So once that is soldered up, now we just have to join them and then take the exposed ends and hook them up to some kind of battery contraption I'm going to try and make, because the pump takes between 3.2, 3.7 volts, right around 3s. So does the clearomizer. So I'm going to try and send 3 volts by combining these two AA batteries. Now, it may not be exactly 3 depending on how, used they are, but it should give us enough juice. Worst case scenario, I do have a battery holder for 6 batteries, but that's way more volts and will probably fry the clearomizer. But if it comes to that, we can just do a quick one and see if at least we hear the motor kick on, or the heating element kick on and the motor kick on in our air pump. Hopefully this air pump is not too loud. Some of these little ones are like real, which will kind of ruin our allure that we're going for. But you can always pad it with some foam tape to reduce that vibration, and you don't hear it as much. All right. So this guy is done right here. And I mean, it's on there enough for us to just test out whether or not this thing even works. So let me cut these rather long as well. I'm using my chin to remove excess wire that got stuck on this thing. And let me move this out of the way. We're going to need it just once more. And hopefully, because we're going wire to wire where we can actually wrap the wires, hopefully we're done with glooping. This is my first glooping stream. We're just glooping wires together. All right, I'm just kind of getting these guys ready to go. Oh, turn this guy around. And I need to tie these two positives together. So I'm going to cut this right about here. And strip. Now, I always try and tap one wire into another, meaning, I'll just use this as an example. I already stripped the end. But when, say I wanted to tap into this wire, say it was another positive. Normally what I like to do is just remove the insulation on here, tap that wire in and continue and do like a nice clean run that way. But I'm not always successful. Sometimes you try and remove that middle layer and you totally butcher the wires. So I'm going to play it safe this time and just kind of make, a few bulkier connections. That way, at least, and this is going to be here. Let me move this. Oh, do this so we can all see. There. So I'm going to tap this wire into this wire. So what I'm going to do is cut this guy long and then strip off a decent amount of him right there. And sometimes when you need to strip a decent amount, it's good to strip a little and then go back and strip the rest. Sometimes trying to pull a giant piece of insulation off, like the way I'm trying to do, you break too many of the strands, but that came off pretty easily, so we're good there. And I'm just twisting the wire. And we're going to wrap this wire. I'm just going to move this into your view. Wrap these two positives together. Oh, wait. Don't forget the heat shrink. Oh, wait. I'm already forgetting all the heat shrink. Before I do that, let me heat shrink the wires going up to the pump. And let me get the tiniest heat shrink that I have. I think that's, would that be good or is that too? Nope, that's good. So let me cut that. And I'm not going to heat it up just yet. I'm just going to get everything in place. So this is to cover up our joint coming from the pump, like that. So that guy will just be there. He'll hang out. And then same thing with this one. I'll cut a bit of, let's see, can I get away with cutting that in half? Yeah. This one is a little bit too long. And let me prep you. There we go. So everybody's prepped on that side. And now I may, here we go. I may unite these wires in holy matrimony. I think I white-knuckled the soldering iron so much that my hands are all tired and shaky. Probably another reason why the joints weren't the greatest. So this little guy here, I'm going to attach this guy. And let me back it up because I'm trying to fit everything into this tiny screen for you guys. There we go. When I get to the soldering, I will bring you guys in on the action. So we have our positive coming. I've united it with the positive coming out here because they're going to get powered together. I'm not going to do different power sources for each of these. And so now I'm going to strip this end and unite it here. And this other end is going to go to the battery. So let me get that done. And before I unite it, don't let me forget the heat shrink on this side. So I'm twisting, and let me get one step up, a step above heat shrink. Maybe this guy here, because we are going to try and cover all this. So, oh no, I don't have to worry about it yet. Now I'm going to kind of do this business right here, and I'm just twisting it together. So I think this soldering is going to be the more traditional soldering, where I like to heat from the bottom and then put the solder on top and let the solder just wick right through the strands. You get a nice connection that way. Right, so that's ready to solder right there. And why don't I prepare the negative in a similar manner, and then I'll just solder them both at the same time. Let me put a little bit of a heat shrink situation on here, and I think I had this little spare guy here. Although I'm going to wrap that in electrical tape because that's just like a hot mess right there. Go. And same thing, I'm going to use about the same kind of length, and I'm going to cut this guy here. These are probably way too long, but for our prototype, we're going to get an idea of how this works. There's so many cool homemade fog machines you can make larger scale, you know, for haunted houses and things. All using just simple glycerin. You can buy that at the grocery store and make your own fog juice. It's way less expensive than going to an actual Halloween store or party store and buying it, although prices have come down. And I will say, let's see here, with the vape pens, they're not that easy to get. Once upon a time, you can just run to Amazon and order vape pens, but because of the health implications, a lot of them have kind of shied away from selling. So I think I found kind of two very obscure vape pens on Amazon, and I found it easier to just go to a dedicated vape store. You know, you can either go in person if you have one in town. What am I doing here? Oh, I need to strip this one real long. I cut this one a hair short, but we'll make it work. Anyways, go to a vape store in person or just order from a dedicated vape store. There's like Vape King and Rock Bottom Vapes and all kinds of stuff. So you can get these clearomizers that way. And you can also try different tank sizes. I kind of went with this because I like the way the air comes from the bottom and goes to the top. And the hole is centrally located, so you don't have to fight it on the side. And normally there's a cuff, so it's almost impossible to get one of these tubes into the air hole. You kind of have to like let it float there and use hot glue to kind of hold it in place, but you will get some leaking. So I thought, although the coil's on top, as that juice kind of filters down to the bottom, you will lose some juice. But I have an idea that I wanted to throw by you guys once this is done here. Oh no, okay, I got the heat shrink. I thought I was messing it up already. And I need little Igor hands. So Igor, one of his job requirements is that he's gonna have to have freakishly little hands. Kind of reminds me of Scary Movie by the Wayans brothers, and I think it's maybe the second one where the actor, oh, what's his name? But he's got these freakishly like little hands, and I think it was Scary Movie too. Don't quote me. All right, so we have our funky triangular connection here, but positive with positive, and then it goes to this end right here, which will go to the battery, the positive end of the battery, and then we have negative connecting to the negative, where they will both go to the negative terminal of the battery. So we're gonna worry about these ends later and focus on these ends, and I still have some free ends with which to slip my heat shrink tubing. So let's get these two soldered up, and then we're done with soldering, people. Oh my gosh, it's been trials and tribulations. So let me position this for me and then for you guys. Get this over here. And I think what I'm gonna do is lower this arm all the way down, almost to the ground. This is kind of loosey-goosey. What is going on here? Put this here. This guy here. There we go. So I have it for me. Let me see if I can set it a little bit better for you guys. And it'll be a little awkward for me soldering, but I think I'm willing to deal with some awkwardness. There we go. Oh, wrong way. I always move it the wrong way. And out. So yeah, the soldering situation, I have to like, go like this with my arms like really, really tall or really far out, but we'll figure it out. All right, so with this, I can probably switch to this thicker solder only because I am running low on this this little skinny guy, which is amazing for electronics, this little skinny solder. So we're gonna move to this fat solder right here. And it's kind of an older solder, but we'll get rid of it. And I'm just cleaning the tip again. And let me grab my little overflow. This is a coaster, little leopard print coaster there. It's made of stone, so I never have to worry about anything, heating right through it or anything. Oh, look at that smoke. So this also has a rosin core. And all of this is leaded solder. Unleaded solder is a little more tough to deal with, and I like the shininess of the, ooh, that tip is awful looking. Let me down this heat a little bit. I don't have to be so hot now for this. That way our tip doesn't burn. And it may be time for some new tips, people. Whoops. That broke. All right, I'm gonna just kind of step up heat from the bottom. Typically, you don't want to touch the solder directly to the tip for the cleanest joint. And I start in the middle, and see how I touch it? The joint's not hot enough. It's not melting the solder. And I'm touching the wire, not the iron. So you just want to hold it there, and it's not helping that the fan is right here cooling this thing as I'm trying to do it. So you see that the solder will start to melt. And there, you've heated the joint where the solder just wicks right through those strands, creating kind of a nice joint there. And if you can still see the strands and they're coated in that solder, then you know it's pretty good. It's not gloopy. Gloopy joints are cold joints, you know, so they snap a lot easier, which is kind of what we got going on with the rest of this. You know, gloopy, they're kind of you know, they can snap, but we're going to be super careful with them. And then Kareth is here. Hey, Kareth. And he's saying, good evening, Miss Diva. Well, good evening. I have like stuff all over me. And what experiments we doing this evening? So we are making a mini fog machine out of a vape pen connected to this little air pump here, and we're about to test it. So you like waltzed in at an awesome time. You missed a couple horrors, you know, earlier. You know, it was a bit of a horror show with the soldering, but we figured it out, and so that should be cool enough. And I'm gonna repeat it. Repeat it on the negative. So let's see if I can flip this and get this. And normally I do the official tinning of the wire first, but I think we're good. Today is like a kind of a speed solder, although the first part of this stream was anything but speed soldering. Oh my gosh. And I'm gonna stand up for this, just so I don't have to reach so bad. There we go. Not ready yet. And now it's ready. Yep, so I'm just touching the solder to the wire and not the iron. And I kind of made too many passes. You don't need to make that many passes because now I have a gloop right there. But it's one of those things where you start to go back and forth with the soldering iron, and it's kind of one of those relaxing things. So you just space out for a little minute, or maybe that's just me. You know, maybe I just space out. But you're just, it's one of those relaxing visuals, you know, and you tend to start to go back and forth, maybe a little more than you should, or that I did. So I think we're good there. Let me get some heat shrink tubing on there. And I think I said this guy here. I'm gonna cut about this much. Why don't we cut you in half? It's gonna be a little excessive, but that's good. And I'm gonna put this on this end. And release. And I think we are done with the soldering iron, so I am going to put it back over here and make sure that tip is not touching anything. And let's see if I can give you guys a better view of what's going on here. So I have put a shrink tubing over this connection where these two positives hook up, and I'm about to do the same for that connection. And man, all that black paint from our acrylic wash of our window frame is all over the place, like right here, making it tough to see. Here it is. Speed soldering, okay. Yep, this time we're just gonna go quick because we're just prototyping. Oh, something's hanging. There we go. So we got our triangle of fog going on there. And I don't have my heat gun nearby, so I'm just going to use the sleeve, which is not as hot. It's kind of a quick trick if you need a emergency heat shrink. Just don't touch the tip. A flame works too. There we go. just pet the sleeve. This doesn't have to be super watertight for our purposes. But if this works, I might keep it. I know it looks kind of ugly, but rather than rebuild it, it's going to be completely hidden anyways. So the only thing I may do is just shorten that little tube there to get our air pump sitting right inside the clearomizer so we get maximum air. And again, I'm not going to hot glue gun anything. We're just going to, hopefully this will get just enough air there that we should see some smoke coming out. So let's see if I can get this tube on here a little bit better. That gloop isn't helping things. But perhaps I need to cut the slit a little bit more, a little bit longer. There. Hopefully that's not too long. And slip it over that wire. You know what, that worked better. But yeah, that gloop is totally in the way. So normally, if we were happy with the setup, what I would do is stick hot glue all up around this outer circumference, not inside the tube. Make sure you don't get it inside the tube, but fill it up. That way this tube is really in place. It's airtight and it's not going anywhere. And then same thing here, you know, once you put this on, really hot glue, and look, we got that spacing down pretty tight. I might not have to change anything. So that's that, and that's that. So now we have our positive and negative ends. So let me do a quick strip of them, and we're just gonna hold them against some batteries real quick and see if this even works. And this guy right here. And you know what? I probably should have tested the air pump and the clearomizer before hooking everything up, because oftentimes when you order a lot, you know, these things in bulk, some of them are kind of duds. It's happened to me with switches where some of them are just duds. Let me move this out of the way. All right, for the grand test. And let's put this where you guys can see. And the idea here is, because this requires 3 volts, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to try and hold all this together and see what happens. I mean, these are touching enough. If I just don't move it, maybe it'll be enough. If I have to wrap it in electrical tape, electrical tape, I will. Just stay right there. And get these guys. Oh, did you pop off? Oh, before we hook it, so bad, I was about to make a major boo-boo. We have to fill this with fog juice, because if we run this dry, there goes the coil and there goes our work. Although luckily I have a backup, so I could always steal this guy's coil. So let's do that first, and we want to let it soak just for a little bit. And I have some swamp juice, you know, left over from Halloween, but I did pour some into this cup. And because this opening here is so tiny. Oh, David Beck is preparing the drum roll. Not just yet. Not just yet. We're almost there. Now, we're going to try and fill it in this outer ring. We don't want to pour it inside that middle that we've been protecting this entire stream. And this is pretty tough. So luckily, I have a syringe left over from another project. You know, we can do some fun, cool hydraulic projects with these things, and it just does not want to focus on it. It's like, nope, I don't like the syringe. So we're going to use this to try and fill our tank here. And we want to soak the wick. There we go. It's like 1 syringe full was enough. And I'm going to screw the cap back on. All right, now this comes off really easily. So yeah, definite need for some kind of hot glue. And we are going to lose a little bit of air because of my gloop. My gloop is just ruining the airflow. The tube does not sit on there nicely, you know, firmly and airtightly. All right, so I'm going to let that sit and soak. And again, our wicks are on top. So if we mount this in the castle like this, eventually this liquid is going to start to drain down and down and down, and the fog is going to get less and less over time. Also, this is not all that much fluid. And again, if you run this dry, you can burn out your coil. So while this sits here and soaks for a little bit, one of the concerns I have is like, well, how do we monitor this? Am I going to have to like open up and look in the back all the time? Or maybe I can mount this on the outside and continually fill it. And like I was saying, take this, separate it, the air pump, and put it elsewhere and connect it via a longer tube. Now, of course, we're going to lose some velocity of that air, but that might be a way to go. The other idea is to take it and actually mount it upside down, because that way the coil is always going to have liquid, you know, as this drains down, and the smoke is going to come out the bottom. But, you know, because of, it being smoke, it's going to rise up like this, kind of go around. Now we can help it by putting some kind of tubing on the end here and then flipping the tubing up and having the smoke just basically be guided that much faster. So probably a fatter tubing than this one, but we can, you know, certainly do that. So that's another idea. And then I have a totally different idea. Listen, I don't think that's glass. I think that's acrylic. And I think that perhaps up top here, we can point it up like that, because that's the best case scenario, is to point it like this. Perhaps, could we drill a hole here and stick a piece of tubing in there, right? And then say this cup is a water bottle or other small closable, sealable container with an extra reservoir of fog juice. So say, you know, this is our reservoir right here, and it'll sit, and via gravity, it'll just always keep feeding this tube. And we can maybe make this bottle or this reservoir look all steampunk and cool. I was even thinking of turning it into a mini bubbler, and it's the swamp juice or fog juice in that mini bubbler, and we'll be able to monitor the level as it goes down, and then just keep dumping and retopping it at the top. So that's kind of an idea. So chime in your suggestions. You know, if you have some cool ideas, at the simplest, we can just leave this like this and just constantly have to monitor it. I like the reservoir idea, and we can hide the reservoir on the side of the cathedral window because it does have a lip. It's got an overhang that could hide a small bottle. And if we want to go all out, well, we can turn it into the tiniest mini bubbler where we just keep topping off that reservoir. So I'm sure there's a cool shaped bottle that we can find out of plastic, maybe something that mimics just a plain tube. I know Voss water bottles are just a tube, and we can paint the cap and make it look like a bubbler and just kind of put a little air pump in there. So that might be cool. Heck, I have an extra air pump, so we can certainly just kind of make a bubbler out of it, but it's really fog juice. So I think this is, I've been delaying the drum roll, but I think the wicks are soaked enough. You definitely want to let them soak for 2 minutes at least. And let's see. I definitely need an Igor here. Like, you hold this and you hold that. And let me see if I can put this where you guys can see the, hopefully see the fog coming out. You know, we're hoping for fog here. And I'm going to put these batteries. This is so bad. But we're going to put these batteries like this. And, oh, it's already coming off. So let me do it like that. Okay, worst prototype ever. It's almost like it needs to be kind of catty corner like that. But at the very least, we're going to hear the pump turn on, you know, hopefully. And you guys may not be able to hear it, but we should be able to hear some kind of heating element kick on as well. And again, just 3 volts will probably be enough. And hopefully these batteries are touching enough. There's a lot of ifs. Oh, nothing, people. There's nothing. Oh. Let me hold them together really tight. Where is my electrical tape? It's like hunting for things on here is always tough. I'll just grab some red electrical tape. Yeah. And yeah, David Beck is liking the steampunk reservoir. So we can just make it steampunk and leave it as is, or we can turn it into a bubbler. Let me see if I can tape these on here so it's less holding. I'm sitting here trying to hold everything. And that makes things quite difficult. Here we go. And you, I'll try and tape you here. Kind of tough because you got to tape it to the little raised thing. There. Hopefully that's on there tight enough. There. All right, so that's the air pump. We hear the air pump working. And is anything coming out? Not yet. Oh, my batteries. And I think a lot of it has to do with this really bad connection here. I wonder if I can get the air pump close enough in here to be able to, oh, that's not close at all. Let me cut a bigger piece of tubing and see if I can hold it together. And I also have a larger diameter tubing, which might be better for us. Just to be able to fit over this glop. Oh, stop that. Brain. Right. Well, I think the air is getting diverted out because of our gloop. And there we go. I'll try and put it where you guys can see it. I'm just trying to touch and see if we're getting any hotter. Oh, yeah, it's beginning to get warm. So it probably just needs a moment. Let me just power it without the tube. See if we can heat up the clearomizer a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely getting hot. And maybe, yeah, maybe it just needs to heat up a little bit. And we'll switch coils in case for whatever reason this coil is bad. And again, one of the things that could be happening is that this is our less than 2 ohm coil, which would be problematic. And I'm going to top it off just a little bit. I noticed that it's not as high as I thought it was. Come here, Fog Juice. Go. Put the top back on. All right. think our biggest problem is this tube situation here. It is just not sitting over where we need it to be. Use this. So I think our connections, I mean, we put them on there pretty gloopy. So they should be good. Let's see where my slit is. Yeah, I can see where we're losing air. So one thing we can try is simply for real hot glue gunning it, you know, and just getting it into place that way. Come here. Don't slip off. Let's see if I can get this battery situation. And I should probably tape these together. And with these clearomizers and these coils, oh yeah, there's a giant gap. Let me hot glue gun this, you know? That way we pretty much get rid of all the, it's definitely getting warm, so it's getting power. I just don't think it's getting the air to shove that smoke out of there. So let's in fact hot glue gun. Where's my little piece? I think I'm gonna go back to this little piece right here. Stick this in here. And let me grab my hot glue gun. We'll take care of this once and for all. And where is it? I think I hid it somewhere. Hot glue gun, where are you? I'm disappearing here for a sec. See if I have it in my my little mystery hiding place. Hiding. And let me plug this in and let it get going and unplug the soldering. Turning off the fan. Yeah, so these clearomizers are meant for momentary use. So it's not something that you can put in a costume or put in a model and then just like run continuously. So I've seen a lot of the cosplayers hook it up to a button or a switch that they just kind of like momentary turn on, and then the smoke happens and then they turn it off. Or else, yeah, you could burn your coils. They're not meant for continuous use. Just like a vape pen is not meant for just long periods of puffing, you know, like a long puff. Igor, bring me the glue gun. Yes, indeed. Definitely. One thing I gotta get is an Igor around here. All right. In the meantime, let's continue messing with this. Oh, guys, I saw smoke. Guys, I'm gonna move this out of the way. Move that out of the way. Maybe it just needs to heat up a while, or it really needs to soak, you know? Maybe I was being too premature. But check this out. I'm not touching that. Do you guys see it? It's very, very faint right there. I wonder if I can put something dark colored, like maybe my phone or something. And tilting it this way is probably terrible. And no. but there's definite fog coming out of it. I'm just trying to figure out a better way to show you guys. Maybe if I can hold this up, right. Oh. There it is. I'm just trying to figure out how to show you guys. It's getting stronger now. What if I tilt this down because the coil is on the bottom? Right? And somehow get my hands out of the way. I'm trying to hold pumps and hold. Yeah, it's definitely smoking. And I wonder if I turn the lights down, if you guys would be able to see it better. Yeah, like the smoke is all coming out here, but I'm looking in my own monitor and I don't see it on the camera. I see it with my own eyeballs, but I don't see it on the camera. So let me see if maybe I can shine a light on it. And you know what? I have this. Let's see if it'll reach. Now this is a green. And I'm going to dim the lights. I'll be right back and see if I can show you guys this. And the biggest problem with our prototype is definitely that air tube. It needs to be hot glue gunned on because we're losing a lot of air. So very little air is actually getting shoved through for the fog. But I do see fog coming. So in theory, what we've done works. Shoving air via an air pump through the coil is the way to go. And let's see. All right. Well, I don't think this is gonna... It's not any better, but, and this does get a little warm, but not too bad. Yeah, it's smoking, definitely. I don't think you guys can see it though. So confirm or not confirm, you know, those of you guys watching, whether or not you can see the smoke. I'm going to glue gun this and hopefully that's going to resolve our issue. And we're almost there. Let this heat up just a little bit more. And oh, this is nice. This is kind of like a nice, you know, mellow shop night, you know? Darken the house lights a little bit. Hopefully you guys can still see what's going on. We have enough light on the table. Yeah, a little darker, but we can see what's going on. There we go. A little bit longer. We're getting our first glues coming out and we'll be ready to go because I'm super curious. So in theory, it's working. The fog is definitely coming out. Put a dark piece of paper on the table so we can see the smoke. Kareth. All right, so cool. So Kareth is confirming that you all cannot see the smoke. And you know what I have? Poster board. That black foam core board that we used to build Frankenstein's castle. It's like right there. I'm going to try and get it. And I'm going to put you guys on like a 30-second intermission. I will be right back. So we have this black foam core board that I bought at the dollar store, and this is what we built our foam castle miniature out of. Let me try and grab all this stuff without messing up the connections. Our fine connections that we have. I mean, these are some fine connections. And put it on top of here. move some crap out of the way. All right. Let me set this up for you guys. Oh, our tube already popped off. This is our biggest problem. We are losing like all of our air. So, and only the tiniest bit of air is getting up through that hole. Oh, yeah, you don't even want to stay on, do you? Hopefully that's tight enough. There we go. See it, guys? There it is. And see, it grows like faint because as I move the air pump around like that, we're losing our air. Yeah, so it came apart, so of course we're not getting any air. So that's, guys, in theory, it totally works. Let's do our hot glue gunning here. And I'm going to just very carefully, just push this in like that. It's kind of tough to see. All right, and I want to show you guys what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to attempt to fill this outer ring here full of hot glue and not the inner portion there. So that is the attempt. And hopefully I don't mess it up. I want to hold it with my finger. So it's going to completely block everything for you guys, which sucks, but... Hopefully this will be enough to kind of keep the air from... I don't know that I'm getting it all the way down there like I need to, though. That's part of the problem. But we see that in theory this works. We just need a better design for this air tube and connecting the air tube to this little air pump. All right. Okay. I see the inside. Look, that little hole is still unblocked. So that's good. Now, I don't know how much is going to seep through the side. So I'm hoping that I got the hot glue like right up on there where that where this plastic tube makes the connection. And then I'm just going to hold this rather than hot glue gunning this together just yet. I'm just going to hold this guy. Let's see, how does he sit the best where I can do this? All right, here. All right, so he's a little loosey-goosey still, but let's see if we get more smoke. And if not, I will hot glue gun the crap out of there. See, we just went PG-13 again. All right, let's see. Can you guys see? Yeah. Yeah, look at that. That was our biggest problem right there. And now, see how less smoke is coming out? Because our liquid is not quite covering the coil too well when it's sitting like this. So I'm wondering if I very gently, I'm going to take it and turn it upside down like that. And let's see what happens now. If we get more juice. Oh yeah, see, the smoke works best if this thing is upside down. And we're still having an air leak from up here. This connection right here has an air leak. You know, obviously because I haven't, hot glue gunned it, or hot glued it. But I want to hold off on that until I figure out if I'm going to have to put a tube in between these two. Because I might have to hide this inside the Frankenstein tower. And this guy I might have to put somewhere else, if they both don't fit. So I want to hold off on that just, right this second. But for now, guys, our theory totally worked. Look at that. And once I get this positioned correctly, it should spew out a ton more smoke And what I'd like to do is maybe do our idea where we have this thing upright and we connect a reservoir. Knock that off. Let me grab this before I knock everything off the table with it. I think that if we connect a reservoir to this, now I'm going to try, since this one is done, our prototype, it's not really pretty looking, but it's done, right? I don't want to have to go through this gloopy solder again. So I'm going to use it and try and drill a tiny little hole for this tubing and then hot glue gun the crap out of it to really hold it in place. I might even use one of those aquarium tees that you use to connect different, different lengths of tubing. So that might be a better way to go, is put like a little tee or a little elbow, I should say, an elbow out of here. And the elbow will then go up to our steampunk reservoir or our bubbler reservoir, however we decide to play it. So definitely put it in the comments. If you think of something afterwards, head on over to Discord and just let me know. And then that reservoir will just continually feed this, keeping our coil always submerged and giving us maximum juice. Now, the other thing too is that I am using fog juice. And it's the fog juice that you have for Halloween. And the thing with that fog juice is that it's used to going into much more powerful machines. So you get all that smoke from the fog juice. So in looking at this, I think I'm going to upgrade from the fog juice to the actual glycerin and maybe mix a little bit of glycerin and water and try different combinations to see which gives me maximum smoke. Obviously, pure glycerin will give you maximum smoke, but something that is easy to refill and mix and just gives us that right ambiance. So I think this was a hit, guys. And I think if we just make that change of swapping out regular old fog juice, because this coil, it's weak. You can't compare it to a fog machine that you use for parties or haunted houses. So we're gonna up it to glycerin, and I think that'll solve our problems. And so next time we're gonna figure out and start mounting this stuff inside our Frankenstein, our young Frankenstein castle, and laying out the back of it. And next week we're gonna start with our lighting scheme, and that's gonna be super exciting because we're gonna have some of the lights doing thunderstorms. We're gonna have an EL wire for the lightning. I also thought that because this is a Frankenstein build, we are indeed missing one of the key components of a Frankenstein movie, which is a Jacob's ladder. And I think I have an amazing way of integrating it into our frame. And this came from one of you guys. I think I'm going to make a finial, and that's going to be a Jacob's ladder, and we're going to make a faux Jacob's ladder to make it safe. Obviously, if we have a lightning storm, the last thing I want is for a high voltage Jacob's ladder to just randomly go off. I mean, what if I'm standing right next to it? And of course I would insulate it, but still, I don't want something that high just randomly going off near me. So we're gonna make a EL wire Jacob's ladder that will go off anytime lightning is nearby. So we're gonna figure out all that lightning next week. And then starting for our next project, I'm going to schedule a Discord discussion where we can all hop on Discord. The Discord will be visible on screen and we can start plotting what our summer project is gonna be. I'm like super excited. I have some ideas, but I like to hear you guys are in your ideas as well. And Kareth is saying, this was nice. See you soon, Miss Diva. Yep, smoke, we see it. Miss Diva, the genius. You know what? Sometimes things work out. And I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. I knew this would all work out. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. All right, so thank you guys for joining me tonight. Again, this has been the Wrench Army exclusive. So this is just for us figuring this out, and only we know how to do it. All right, and I will catch you guys next week where we're going to continue this project, and I definitely want to hear your ideas for our future summer project. So have a great rest of the night, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya!